What was the last straw in a relationship you no longer are in? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. Not a romantic relationship, don't know if it counts? Ended the relationship with my mom because I was in the hospital, having major surgery. She was here to help care for my very worried kids. She hit my 4-year-old in the face at least twice. She admitted doing it and told me it's fine because she apologized. She used to hit me. She never hit my older kids, so I never expected this to happen. But it was like she waited for me to be weak enough to not be able to defend them. I tried to find any excuse, but I just couldn't see her name or hear her voice ever again without intense dread and panic. Story 2. I read some of the other responses, and this one is trivial, but here it is. I broke up with someone I was dating for over 2 years because of a grilled cheese sandwich. She had an insanely complicated relationship with food, but it wasn't because of weight or anything. She grew up poor, and so did I. And when she became an adult, she got a job and only ate good food. I, however, didn't care at all about food, and I just ate whatever. She took cooking classes, shopped at expensive grocery stores, and had a fully decked-out kitchen. She insisted on cooking, and it would take her forever to make anything. Anyways, I was coming off of a 12-plus-hour shift for the 5th day in a row, and I just wanted to eat something, because I hadn't eaten all day. So on my way to her place, I picked up some Wonder Bread and some Kraft Singles. I got to her place and started making a grilled cheese sandwich. She objected, said she would make me something real to eat. I wasn't interested. I finished making the sandwich and I went to quickly use the bathroom. When I came back, she threw my food out and was looking for something in the fridge to make. I was so mad I just grabbed my coat and said, "F this, I'm out of here." Story 3. Punched a hole in the wall when I asked him to wash his hands before. Touching me there. And I added, "Please respect my body." I ruined everything. He destroyed my furniture as payback for breaking up with him over it. Then spent a solid year trying to win me back. And then became outraged that I broke up with him over a chair. We dated for 3 years. Note to anyone dating someone that gets increasingly violent. When they get comfortable enough to break things in front of you, you're next. Story 4. We had been together for a year. Things were good except the sex life. I knew he was masturbating and never admitted to it. We had a good conversation about it, and he still lied the whole time. That was the last straw for me. I have a very high libido, and sex once every 2 weeks wasn't it for me. I politely grabbed my things and told him I was done. He proceeds to hack my email and my Facebook and post private pictures and messages of me. Then he breaks into my car just to leave a note saying, "We need to talk." Then I caught him stalking me at the gym. So what did I do? I started Instacarting at his job every day for the next 2 weeks before completely moving out of state. I took pictures of him. I spoke to his bosses about the behavior, and I sent the photos to his mom. Let's just say I haven't been harassed by him anymore. Oh, stay strong, ladies. Cops literally told me to take matters into my own hands without causing harm. I think I did just that. Story 5. She said she'd been accepted into a graduate program at a university on the other side of the country and would be moving out there at the end of the month. She confessed that the trips she'd taken the previous month had not been to visit her aunt, but to tour the campus and decide if she liked it, which evidently she did. I was shocked because I didn't even know she'd been considering graduate school, let alone applying for admission or anything else. I ended the relationship because why would I stick around for someone who had already been making plans for their life without me in it? She lied about her trip. What else was she lying about? Clearly she had already checked out of the relationship long ago, and then it turned out that she'd been lying about the whole thing. I didn't find this out until many months later. She had not applied for, nor been accepted into any graduate program, and she never ended up moving across the country. I never really figured out why she felt the need to make up that whole story, but I wound up meeting my now wife shortly after, so I guess all's well that ends well. Story 6. He drove our only car, the one I, sole breadwinner, drove back and forth to work every day, drunk. He drove it through my mom's neighbor's fence, then tried to lie and say it wasn't him, when my brand new bumper was all scratched up, and she had the video on her Ring camera. That and I went feral when he walked into my mom's house and called her Mom. I realized that if I got that angry over that, we were not meant to get married. Broke up with him the next day, best decision I've made in a long time. Story 7. I had that sudden realization once a long time ago, maybe 20-ish years with an ex. It was so jarring. I went out with some friends. I invited her, but she didn't want to go. She had lost her job a few months prior, but I was okay with maintaining the house. Anyways, I came home around 1 a.m. and the place was disgusting. The dog had in the living room. There were paper towels covering it. There was laundry all over the floor. Food she cooked was burnt, and the stovetop was a mess. Dishes were in the sink without any water. Just not what you expect to come home to. I sat on the couch, and the dog just came to me and started whining. I sat there with a blank stare on my face. I was just staring off in the distance, and she came out and asked if I was okay. Started crying, saying I should clean, and why was I looking like that? I wasn't even angry, I just felt so exhausted. We broke up the next day. Story 8. I was seeing a woman around the time the first of the new Dune movies was out in theaters. She was undoubtedly the most attractive woman I had ever been with. Almost a decade younger than me, fit, gorgeous, with that sort of feminine charm that makes you melt as she leaves lipstick on your neck. I was dating up in a way I had never achieved before. But, Jesus Christ Almighty, she was also the dumbest person I had ever met. The final straw was when she asked me about the plot to Dune before we went to see it, which I had read in college years prior. I explained the plot, which involves psychics, interstellar travel, and literal space witches. She then looks at me, cocks her head slightly, and asks, "Is it based on a true story?" We didn't last much longer. Also, I'm fairly certain she was forgetting to take her birth control pills. Story 9. He tased me, shot at me, and pistol whipped me. Played buddy-buddy with the cops, so they just saw a panic-shaking woman and a chill dude, and decided I was hysterical, so I must be making it up. I got in my truck before they left and ran for my life. The next time I saw him was to sign divorce papers, and he thrashed me in front of the courthouse. They believed me then. It always starts slow with this type. First he'd just get angry and yell, but that was my fault for making him mad. Then your friends and family are a problem, so they get cut off. Now you're isolated. Yelling turns into things breaking, then things getting thrown at you. Next thing you know, you're being stomped into concrete until your spine snaps. Shooting at me made me realize there's no end to the escalation but death. Anyone dealing with anything like this, please run. They won't stop. It will get worse. They won't change. You deserve so much better. You are worth so much more. Story 10. It's funny and it's wrong and we aren't connected anymore, so she won't ever see this. She fully pooped during an orgasm once. Like all of my members. All over the bed. And she's moaning the whole time with a look of pure horror on her face. I'm not freaking out at first because I've been soaked before. Then it got warmer and it didn't run. And it just sat there and my brain started screaming. I could never get that night out of my head. We couldn't have sex at all after because that's where my head went. I hope she's okay and happy in love, and I hope he's not good in bed. For his sake. Story 11. We went on a terrible summer camping trip with some of my friends. While I went hiking and saw the sights, he stayed at the site for 3 days drinking and napping. Fine, okay. Wish we could have shared some outdoor experiences, but whatever. On the way home, tired and sweaty, all I wanted to do was get a sandwich and an iced coffee at my favorite spot. We get there, and it's moderately busy. He says it's too crowded, and we drive across town to eat on the patio, basically a parking lot, of a wings restaurant. I'm vegetarian. There are no cold sandwiches or iced coffee. There's only French fries for me to eat. It's 95 degrees, and the music is blaring. I realized then that he didn't care at all about my comfort or wants. He wanted wings, we got wings. He was so myopic, and the worst part was he really thought I was fine with just putting up with it because I did, for 7 years. BTT, suddenly it was entirely clear. When we parked the car back at my house, I broke up with him before I even shut off the engine. Story 12. I worked the night shift, so when I came home, I went straight to bed. While I was sleeping, my girlfriend took my debit card without permission and withdrew a few $100s from man at the moment. It's important to note that I never shared my PIN with her, so she must have intentionally watched me at some point to memorize it. A few days later, when I was reviewing my online banking, I noticed the unusual withdrawal and mentioned it to her, not because I suspected her of anything, but simply because it seemed odd. I went to the bank, and they advised me to file a police report, which I did. When I returned home and informed her of the situation, she acted completely normal and unconcerned. A few days later, the police called, informing me that they were coming over to show me some pictures from the at the moment. My girlfriend then told me she was going to visit her grandmother and promptly left. When the police arrived, They showed me pictures of my girlfriend taken by the, at the moment's camera. Story 13. Many moons ago, I picked up my then girlfriend at her house to bring her back to my apartment. It was a 50-minute drive. She got in the car and started talking immediately. She famously talked non-stop, which didn't bother me at first, but slowly wore on me over time. About 3 minutes from my apartment, Badfingers no matter what came on. I was in a band and music was very important to me. I cranked up the song instinctively. It's got a banger of an intro, not realizing she was still talking without a break. She got super pissed. That was rude, I was talking. I realized that I couldn't stand it anymore and dumped her on the spot and turned around. My wife and I have the same passion for music. Story 14. For me, it was a large box. We had been dating for years, and I always went above and beyond to make our home a happy one. The issue was, she took me for granted. I did the dishes, the floors, the yard work, the garbage, 2/3 of the laundry, any and all building tasks, etc. The third time she bought something for her display stuff, I carried it in, carried it upstairs, and took it out and built it for her. All I asked was for her to cut up the box, which I absolutely hate doing. We had been having other problems, lack of interest, online gaming addiction, etc. But the fact I couldn't get her to even do that was the moment where I kind of said, enough is enough. She didn't do chores, didn't pay rent, and still walked around like it was my problem. Just couldn't see the rest of my life being that way. Story 15. Fish. We were already having our problems here and there, but the problem is none of those issues were deal breaker, just soul sucking and stressing. I was working my way to make things right, and I can tell he was also. But sometimes pushing doesn't work. One day I was feeling bad for reasons unrelated to our relationship, and he said he would come over and cook for me. He did, but he did the one food that I despise the most, fish. I couldn't believe he did not remember that I hate fish so much. I didn't say anything while he was cooking. He prepared the table and we sat. I ate the food that I hated because he cooked for me. At the end of the meal, I said there's no point in trying, even though we want this to work. Sometimes you gotta leave your comfort zone for your own sake and the others. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.